During the Android saga, Trunks said that even a small change to the course of events could create several different futures. So let me ask you, have you ever stopped to think about just how important these small events were and how they shaped the entire story of Dragon Ball? Stick with me until the end of the video so you can understand all about it. What's up everyone? How's it going? Welcome back to Dragon Dao. The butterfly effect is a concept from chaos theory. It's based on the idea that one small action, seemingly unnoticed and insignificant, can change the course of events and produce enormous and unpredictable consequences. Dragon Ball's story is full of these small triggers, and there are so many of them that to avoid getting stuck covering several within the same saga, I chose one from each stage of the original story. So let's get into them. After being defeated by Tambourine because he was severely weakened, Goku ends up meeting Yajirobe. They don't exactly get along at first, but Symbol soon arrives looking for the Dragon Ball, drawing both of their attention to him. Symbol even reveals that he serves King Piccolo, but Yajirobe doesn't pay attention because he's too busy playing rock, paper, scissors with Goku to decide who gets to fight the monster. Yajirobe kills Symbol and then eats him. After that, Tambourine arrives to avenge him. Yajirobe wants to fight him too, but Goku says it's his turn and quickly kills Tambourine. With two of his children dead, King Piccolo becomes furious and decides to personally take revenge. But when his aircraft reaches the area, one small detail completely changes the course of the saga. While trying to tell King Piccolo that they had reached their destination, Mai accidentally presses the external speaker button instead of the internal one. When Yajirobe hears Piccolo's name, he remembers an old story and realizes who they're dealing with and just how dangerous this enemy really is. He immediately hands the Dragon Ball to Goku and hides before King Piccolo can step out of the aircraft and see him. King Piccolo steps out, and Goku even manages to catch him off guard at first. But Piccolo soon begins taking the fight more seriously and defeats him. When he realizes that Goku's heart has stopped, Piccolo assumes he is dead, takes the Dragon Ball, and leaves. Only then does Yajirobe come out of hiding. At first, he also believes Goku is dead, but he realizes that his heart is still beating and helps him. He then takes Goku to Korin Tower, where Goku becomes stronger and eventually defeats King Piccolo, saving the world. If Mai hadn't pressed the wrong button, Yajirobe wouldn't have known that the new enemy was King Piccolo, because he hadn't been paying attention when Symbol mentioned him. After how easily he and Goku defeated Symbol and Tambourine, he wanted another one to show up so they could kill him and he could eat again. So he wouldn't have hidden before King Piccolo stepped out of the aircraft. He would have waited for the new enemy to land and probably been killed by Piccolo. Goku might still have survived at that moment because of his resistance, just as he did in the original story, but Yajirobe probably wouldn't have. And without Yajirobe, Goku might have eventually died from the injuries he had suffered since he could barely move. Even if he had survived, Goku would have been stranded in an unfamiliar place while severely injured. Without Yajirobe, Goku would have had no way to quickly reach the sacred land of Korin, much less climb the tower, since the flying Nimbus had been destroyed by Tambourine. And even in the best case scenario, if Goku eventually managed to reach the area and climb the tower, it would have taken much longer. That extra time was crucial. Tien would have been killed by Drum. King Piccolo would have consolidated his reign of terror over the world, and he would also have had enough time to finish eliminating every martial artist on Earth to make sure no one knew the evil containment wave. That would have included Yamcha, who was Tambourine's next target, and since the rest of the group was always with him, it would ultimately have led to all of their deaths as well. In other words, things would have played out very differently. One wrong button pressed by a henchwoman from Dragon Ball's most harmless group of villains may have determined the fate of the entire world. After Raditz's defeat, everyone began preparing for the arrival of the other two Saiyans in 1 year. After spending 6 months running along Snake Way, Goku finally reaches King Kai's planet. He explains the entire situation, and King Kai calculates how much time remained before the Saiyans reached. There were 158 days left. Goku gets worried, but King Kai says that would be enough. The days go by, Goku improves, grows stronger, learns the Kaioken, and finishes mastering the Spirit Bomb just 1 day before the Saiyans arrive. But it was at that exact moment that King Kai realized the terrible mistake that created one of the biggest butterfly effects in Dragon Ball. He had forgotten to calculate how long it would take Goku to travel back across Snake Way. If it had taken Goku 6 months to cross the 1 million kilometers on his way there, he would need around 2 days to make the return trip. Goku would inevitably arrive late to the battle. The Saiyans arrive on Earth, and the Z fighters begin to fall one by one. Yamcha dies, Chaozu dies, Tien dies, and most seriously of all, Piccolo dies, causing Earth's Dragon Balls to disappear. Goku only manages to arrive in time to save Krillin and Gohan. If King Kai hadn't made that miscalculation, Goku would have been waiting at the battlefield alongside the Z fighters from the very beginning, and that would have drastically changed the dynamic of the confrontations. Many scenarios are possible, but I believe none of the Z fighters would have died. Goku was already stronger than Nappa in his base form, and with the Kaioken, he was far stronger. On top of that, he fought Vegeta alone, and surpassed him in power with the Kaioken ×3. Vegeta had to resort to becoming a great ape. In a scenario where Goku was present from the beginning, the Cybermen and Nappa would have been eliminated quickly. Then everyone could have joined forces against Vegeta. And even if Vegeta resorted to becoming a great ape, dealing with him would still have been fairly easy, because there would have been so many fighters attacking him by surprise to cut off his tail or trying to destroy the energy sphere emitting Blute's waves. Piccolo had already seen Gohan transform and destroyed the moon to stop it, so he would have known what to do. In the original story, Goku asked Krillin to spare Vegeta, and Krillin gave in. With Piccolo there, that probably wouldn't have happened. If Krillin, who had been Goku's friend since childhood, was reluctant to go along with his request, imagine what Piccolo would have done when at that point in the story, he wasn't even close to Goku yet. He never would have accepted that request. He would have killed Vegeta. With Vegeta dead and all the fighters surviving, there would have been no trip to Namek, because no one would have needed to be revived, and Earth's Dragon Balls would still have existed. So at first, it seems like everything would have turned out fine, but in reality, this still could have created an even worse timeline. Frieza still would have learned from the Scouter about the existence of a Namekian and the Dragon Balls on Earth. Combined with the fact that Goku had been revived, this would have proven to Frieza that the Dragon Balls actually work. Frieza could have gone to Earth, and the situation would have been catastrophic for the Z fighters. Without the events on Namek raising their power levels, everyone would have been much weaker. Piccolo, Yamcha, Tien, and Chaozu wouldn't have trained with King Kai. Piccolo wouldn't have fused with Nail. Gohan and Krillin wouldn't have had their hidden powers unlocked. And Goku wouldn't have undergone the spaceship training that absurdly increased his power, received the Zenkai boost from the Frieza saga, or become capable of amplifying the Kaioken 10-fold or 20-fold. The Z fighters wouldn't even have had enough useful training time on Earth, since Frieza decided to go after the Dragon Balls less than a month after the battle against the Saiyans. In this scenario, they wouldn't have stood a chance against even Frieza's first form, and everyone would have been killed. On top of that, I don't even need to explain how Vegeta's absence from the rest of the story would have completely changed everything, since his presence and actions are often what drive the sagas forward. Anyway, there are many possible outcomes here, and I don't intend to explore all of them in this video. What matters is that King Kai's miscalculation determined the entire course of Dragon Ball. The mission was simple: get to Namek, gather the Dragon Balls, and wish their friends who had died in the battle against the Saiyans back to life. But Bulma, Krillin, and Gohan had no idea how much chaos this would create. Shortly after arriving on the planet, their energy was detected by Frieza's men. 2 soldiers were sent to investigate and found them. Assuming they were just weak tourists, Frieza's soldiers opened fire and damaged their spaceship. Krillin and Gohan then defeated them easily. But the damage had already been done, and the course of the saga had been decided. Because their spaceship was damaged, they could no longer abort the mission and leave the planet. So they had to move away from the ship and find somewhere to hide. After relocating, they finally sensed the energy of Frieza and his men and saw them passing nearby. Because of this, Gohan and Krillin followed them and found the village they were attacking. They then stepped in and saved Dende. If Dende hadn't been saved, a lot would have changed. Gohan and Krillin wouldn't have reached the Grand Elder so easily or obtained a Dragon Ball to interfere with Vegeta and Frieza's plans. They also wouldn't have had their powers unlocked, raising their power levels to over 10,000. Without that increase in power, Krillin and Gohan would have died before the battle against Frieza. During the fight against Guldo, for example, even with their new strength and while putting him under pressure, they were nearly killed. So imagine how it would have gone without it. Without Dende, they wouldn't have been able to make their wishes to Purunga, and Piccolo wouldn't have reached the battlefield at the decisive moment. Without Dende, they also wouldn't have been healed during the battle against Frieza. Krillin would have died after being impaled on Frieza's horn. Gohan would have remained unconscious. Everyone would have been killed long before Goku arrived. Frieza would never have been defeated. If the Earthling spaceship hadn't been destroyed, everything would have played out very differently. 2 low-ranking soldiers destroying someone else's ship for fun ultimately became responsible for the downfall of Frieza's own empire. After Vegeta begins to be increasingly overwhelmed by Android 18, the Z fighters try to interfere and are easily defeated by the androids. But surprisingly, these androids weren't like the ones from Trunks' future, and they didn't kill them. Then, before leaving, Android 18 walks up to Krillin and kisses him on the cheek. That kiss completely changes Krillin's perception of the androids. Krillin keeps thinking about it and questions Trunks about whether the androids are really as evil as he claimed. Later, Krillin could have used the remote Bulma built to deactivate Android 18 and prevent Cell from evolving, but he can't bring himself to do it because of the feelings he had already developed for her. If Android 18 hadn't kissed Krillin, he might have made a more detached decision. The androids still would have spared the Z fighters, and that might have weighed on him somewhat. But Krillin probably would have been more pragmatic in the face of the threat of Cell achieving his perfect form. He still might have felt sorry for her, but his emotional connection to Android 18 would have been much weaker. So that kiss was responsible for making the situation in the saga even more complicated, making it easier for Cell to reach his perfect form. But if you think about the long-term consequences, it was also responsible for much bigger things. At the end of the saga, the fighters summoned Shenron to revive everyone killed by Cell. If their perception of the androids hadn't changed, largely because of Krillin's influence, they could simply have asked to revive everyone except Android 17. On top of that, Krillin asked Shenron to remove the bombs from the androids' bodies. Everyone had already realized that Krillin liked Android 18, but Tien asks why he also requested that Android 17's bomb be removed. And Krillin says it was because Android 17 would be the perfect match for her, not knowing that they were siblings. All of these actions made Android 18 fall in love with Krillin, and the two eventually got married, but they also kept Android 17 in the story. And that's the most important part, because he became much stronger over the years and was recruited for the Tournament of Power, ultimately becoming the winner and using his wish to restore all the erased universes. If he hadn't returned at the end of the Cell saga, Universe 7 wouldn't have had the fighter who was left standing at the very end. But because his sister softened Krillin's heart with a kiss, the multiverse was saved from Zeno's judgment, since he would have erased every universe if a less honorable warrior had made the wrong wish. After almost everyone abandoned the tournament, only Android 18, Mighty Mask, and the other humans remained. With so many fighters gone, the best solution was to turn the final round into a battle royale, with all 5 remaining contestants fighting in the ring at the same time. After Jewel and Killer are quickly eliminated, Android 18 exposes Goten and Trunks disguised as Mighty Mask, and they are disqualified. That's when Mr. Satan realizes he is completely screwed. The man who supposedly defeated Cell was about to be effortlessly beaten by an unknown woman, which could make people question whether he had really saved the world. The audience would be shocked. His status as a hero and the strongest man in the world would end right there. He was even afraid she might kill him. But luckily for him, Android 18's only reason for entering the tournament was the prize money. So when she notices how terrified he is, she makes him an offer. Since the champion's prize was 10 million Zenny, she demands 20 million to throw the fight. Mr. Satan agrees, and Android 18 pretends to be knocked out of the ring. Mr. Satan officially wins and keeps his title and reputation as champion. But no one had any idea that Android 18's greedy proposal would end up saving the universe not long afterward. During the final battle against Kid Buu, Vegeta comes up with the idea of using the Namekian Dragon Balls to restore Earth and revive its people, allowing Goku to gather energy from everyone for the Spirit Bomb. When Vegeta asks everyone to raise their hands and donate their energy, the Earthlings react with skepticism. They didn't know the people speaking to them, so they thought it might be some kind of trap. Goku also tried to convince them, but no one besides the people who knew him raised their hands, meaning the energy they had gathered still wasn't enough to defeat Kid Buu. And it's at that exact moment that Mr. Satan takes control. He shouts that they are fighting Majin Buu and need everyone's energy. The Earthlings react instantly. It was a request from Earth's hero, so everyone raises their hands, donating the decisive energy needed to defeat Kid Buu. And just like that, the universe was saved. If Mr. Satan had been exposed at the tournament, the ending of the story could have been completely different. The world might have ignored his request if his reputation had been destroyed. The Earthlings might have reacted with mockery or suspicion and refused to donate their energy. And without that energy, the Spirit Bomb wouldn't have been powerful enough to defeat Kid Buu. The entire universe would have been doomed. Goku and Vegeta would have been killed right there. And setting aside any power-scaling debate about Kid Buu and Ultimate Gohan, Earth would have been destroyed again, since Kid Buu was completely unpredictable, teleporting from planet to planet and wiping out all life in the universe. But none of that happened because Android 18 decided to extort Mr. Satan and keep the lie alive. And that lie was exactly what the universe needed most at its most decisive moment. But now, I want to know from you. What do you think about all this? Comment your opinion down below. If this video was interesting to you, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel to keep following discussions like this one. And here on the screen, 2 more videos will appear that I'm sure you'll enjoy. See you in the next video right here on Dragon Dao.